So, okay, day before, go to Chicago, got a ton of pickups. You saw the video from yesterday. The next day, at an 8 a.m. deal where I picked up this lot right over here. Mind you, I didn't get back from Chicago until like 1 a.m. and it was a 22-hour day. So a little bit of sleep to be able to pull this off. Card weekends are a grind sometimes. That being said, it was well worth it. Got a ton of stuff. All this on the right is going to be sent into grading. Over here on the left, this lot has already been sold to a dealer. So let's start off with that lot. So we're going to start off with a 1958 Mantle, 58 Frank Robinson, 58 Ted Williams. By the way, how do you guys like these old school top loaders? Very yellow. Whitey Ford, Leva and Clemente. Pitching and batting leaders from 63. 64s. Cards of 65, by the way, just the 64 leaders. Yankees, Whitey Ford, Ruth, Ashburn, another yellow top loader. Like, this is just the gallery of looking at vintage cards, and it was really fun. It took about 2 hours to get this deal done, and maybe we'll do like a video in the future, like how I work on collection deals. This was my first like large collection deal where I kind of bought everything that I saw, and obviously there's a lot of room for improvement, but I'll just kind of tell you guys what I ended up doing. So pretty much I started creating brackets of cards. So my first time going around, I kind of split up the cards of things that were $100 plus, and then cards that were under $100. And then since there's a lot less $100 cards, I was able to spread that out. So I don't know, there's like 30 cards or so that were maybe less, maybe like 25 or 20 cards that were over $100 that I thought. And that's between either like grading, which I don't advise that you 100% buy all of your cards based off of grading values. That could get tricky. But between grading and also like the raw state, like any mantle, I wouldn't say any mantle, but the main cards are always going to be over $100. So like you can pull those type of things off to the side and kind of estimate. So did that, and then cards under $100, I had in a large stack. From there, kind of branched them out. I had the cards under $10, cards under 25, 50, 75, and then 100. And pretty much what I did with those stacks is honestly just estimated my knowledge. You're not going to comp 100 cards. You just don't have that time. So you comp a few that you think could be in different brackets and then work from there. And then when I got home, I had to do the job of figuring out what I'm going to send over to get graded. Now the costs are $18 a pop, made it much easier. By the way, I'm going to send this to SGC, so we're going to send like 100 cards or so over to them. In this lot, if I remember correctly, there's 79 that are going to be sent. But I have other stuff too, like yesterday. Not to go off too much of a tangent, but I will be sending them these 56s that I got. Send them the Joe DiMaggio that I've got recently, and probably a few other stuff as well. So we'll build out that stack to 100 plus. This is all getting sent over. Let's go through these as well, but I'll continue talking through the deal. So essentially, you kind of have to estimate on some cards, and you're not going to get everything right. You're going to be under on some stuff. You're going to be over on some stuff. But it's really kind of like a good training in a sense if you're going through like vintage bargain bins to kind of figure out like where the value is at. And I know like the market changes so freaking fast that it's kind of impossible to know everything. And when you're not looking at cards in the best light, like you can miss stuff. Like with this Reggie Jackson, I wasn't able to see that in the light. But like overall, it looked a pretty clean card. And I know it's over $100, so there's like no issue on that. Like this Bob Gibson, probably if I was estimating it, I'd say a 1.5 or 2. But kind of put that in there. But then there's like other nice cards, like this 60 Mantle is pretty nice. Like you guys can see that over there. And yes, there's always the concern that some of these cards are altered or trimmed, but you kind of have to like bake that into the price. So anyways, not to go on too much of a tangent, built all those stacks out. We ended up adding them up, and then work from there on a deal. So 2 hours of time for about 100 cards. I don't know how you guys do it if you're buying thousands and thousands of cards that are really expensive. I know the team over at like Bench Clear Media is buying some crazy collections. So props to them on that, because it's a lot of work, man. And especially like selling all those cards and figuring out your buyers. So we'll see how this ends up going with the sub. I was originally, so like when I got home, obviously I was telling you guys, I was trying to figure out what cards I'm going to send or not. I was building out a sheet kind of like on what my estimated grades were, what the values were. But honestly, I kind of feel like I'm just going to wing it and see how some of these are graded. And we'll see what mistakes I ended up making on cards that I'm going to send. Literally going to look at some of these cards for 2 seconds and go, okay, I'm going to get this graded or not. And either going to bite me or do well. Now, with the deal with cards like the 71s, one thing that I did with it is I threw in bonuses. And the reason is, like, look how nice these 71s are. Like, really, really sharp. But the thing is, these are very tough to grade. I'm very subjective with grading on the 71s. So there was 3. There was also a maze, which I think is later down over here. So I told the guy I bought these off of, like, look, if they come back really high grades and the value is way different than I predicted, I will give you a bonus on it. And I think that's the way to go if you're buying a lot of stuff. And also does the same with like that 1960 mantle in there. That was pretty nice. I told him I feel like if it got higher than a 5, but also throw a bonus on there, because it's like I said, it's very subjective with grading, and can't always predict your grades. So I think the way I'm gonna approach more bulk deals kind of like this is a flat fee for the cards based off of where I think the value is, and then throw in bonuses for stuff. So there's like 10 cards or so, they get certain grades, we will pay out a little bit more, and that way it's fair for both of us, because it's kind of bad, at least in my eyes, if something grades really high compared to what you paid for it, and then that guy gets screwed. So, I don't know. Those are my kind of ramble thoughts on buying my first collection like this. What do you guys like? Do you like that? We're talking about the deal, or would you rather me just talk about each of the cards? I mean, I can go into a lot more detail about how everything operated. This is obviously a 1, no doubt with that one. This one I thought was really nice, and definitely one of those bonuses. I mean, these 63s chip so much, but this is great. The other thing, like with this type of stuff, is I'm gonna have to put a bunch of these in penny sleeves before even grading. I know everyone talks about him into card savers. Look, I don't have that many card savers, just gonna be completely honest. I replaced the yellow top loaders already with some new top loaders and stuff, but I'm definitely gonna penny sleeve a lot of these cards just to be 100% sure on them. And then there's cards like this, like Ted Williams. I mean, if it was centered, it'd be a lot nicer. I figure like a card like this, I estimate it to be like a 2. If it comes back a 3, awesome. If it comes back a 1, you know, my loss, but just kind of figured that. 63 maze. Here's the maze I was talking about, by the way. There's that print dot over there, but like beyond it, like look how nice these are. And the things with 71s, by the way, to check as well, is if you look on the sides, you have to make sure there's no black ink over there. You guys can see like this is good over here, because that's how people alter them. So especially if they look too nice, but like this looks very presentable. So we'll see how that goes. Mantle, another mantle and a maze. Classic card. I always sell that card. Jackie, another mantle. And then speaking of classic cards, got this in a 7 at the card show. These do pretty well. Figured like something like this, 2.5 to 3.5. If it gets nicer, awesome. If not, that's kind of where I baked in the price. By the way, this guy right here, Hank Aaron, I have a video on his top 10 cards. Make sure to watch that one right here. I guarantee you, you're going to see cards that you have never seen before.